Alright, welcome guys. Break of 159. We have 22 and 21 traders combo break, which has the 22 traders case. We have the 22 traders Newsagent starter packs. We have 21 traders priority, 22 traders priority, and a 21 traders hobby box to be randomized at the end. So we're going to do this a bit different. We'll see how we go. I'm going to open the starter packs. So rather than you guys sit there and just watch me open the starter packs, we'll pull the starter pack bonus card Power Hero out as we go. Let me get a few of these ready to rock and roll. How are we all? Oh. Our team list for this one: Broncos, Brian McGovern; Raiders, Renee McKenzie; Bulldogs, Luke Hodder; Sharks, Chris. Oh, awesome. That's better. Well, I'll pass that along to you. Thank you. So, where did we get up to? Luke Hodder for Bulldogs, Sharks, Chris Duggan; Titans, Robert Kelly; Manly, Renee McKenzie; Storm, Luke Hodder; Knights, Robert Kelly; Cowboys, Brian McGovern; Eels, Renee McKenzie; Panthers, Renee McKenzie; Rabbitohs, Dylan Cameron; Dragons, Billy Griffiths; Roosters, Renee McKenzie; Warriors, William Goodger; Tigers, Renee McKenzie. Alright. First card, break 159, blue Power Hero Alexander Brimson for the Titans. And now I'm all out of whack. Let me check the camera, guys. I'll just adjust that back down so you can see what's going on. I don't need them. Alright. There we go. Power Hero Black, number 60 out of 100, Nick Kotrick for Bulldogs. Oh, I lost my team list again. There we go. And Luke Hodder, number 60. Tried to fix the camera on the trade in between the breaks. Number 30 out of 100, Black, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights, Robert Kelly. I don't know if you can see that number, it's a bit hard where it is. Power Heroes Blue, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Thank you muchly. Power Heroes Pink, 116, Nick Kotrick for the Bulldogs. Power Heroes Green, 61, Jai Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Power Heroes Pink, number 88, header A. So we'll randomise that at the end. I'm sure everyone knows how it works by now. If you don't, you're more than welcome to ask. Power Heroes Blue, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Power Heroes blue, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Power Heroes green, 131, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Power Heroes blue, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Power Heroes blue, Junior Paulo for the Eels. Power Heroes green, 182, Tony Staggs. 182, Tony Staggs. Power Heroes blue, Josh Papali for the Raiders. Power Heroes blue, Toby Rudolph for the Sharks. Power Heroes blue, Nick Kotrick for the Bulldogs. Power Heroes blue, Kieran Foran for Manly. Power Heroes black, 59, Junior Paulo for the Eels. A few blacks in this one, nice work. Alright, so let's get into these cases. A couple of boxes, move over a touch. Yeah, that should be. What have I done? Why did I touch it? Yeah, we should be good there. Alright. So these are the packs from the starter packets. Season to remember, Hammett Fido for the Cowboys. Jake Clifford, parallel for the Knights. We only have one break listed at the moment, guys. I actually didn't check in between the breaks, but there's break 160. There was 4 spots listed on the website last I looked before the first break we did, and there was 4 spots on the in the Facebook group. Power Heroes, Alexander Brimson for the Titans, David Fafita, parallel for the Titans. Break 160, we have 9 boxes in total. Matt Croker, Rising Stars for the Knights, Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. We have 2 22 Traders hobby boxes, plus a 22 Traders Priority Box. David Fafita, High Performance for Titans, Manly Parallel Checklist. We have 2 21 Elite hobby boxes with a 21 Elite Priority Box. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbitohs. And we have 2 21 Traders hobby boxes with a 21 Traders Priority Box. 16 spot random team, Jake Granville, parallel for the Cowboys. Chad Townsend, season to remember for the Sharks. Dane Laurie, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for Dragons. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Team High Performance for the Eels. Ryan Sutton, parallel for Raiders. High Performance, Isaac Liu for the Roosters. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Felice Kafusi, parallel for Storm. Brian Totter, Power Heroes for Panthers. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. Ronaldo Mulatalo, parallel for Sharks. Matt Moylan, parallel for Sharks. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Brian Totter for the Panthers. Broncos parallel checklist. Power Heroes header B. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for Cowboys. High Performance, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Cody Ramsey, parallel for the Dragons. Tommy Talau, Power Heroes for the Tigers. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Ben Hunt, parallel for Dragons. Jaden Campbell, Club Heroes for Titans. Hammer Fitto, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Tig Wilton for the Sharks. Mawaki Fotoaika, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Luke Brooks, for the Tigers. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. Tom Dearden, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. Foil Sig. Luke Hodder with the Storm. Christian Welsh. 168. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Tessie New, parallel for the Broncos. Daly Cherry Evans, season to remember for Manly. Tommy Talau, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Jake Granville, parallel for the Cowboys. Our heroes, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Panthers parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Storm parallel checklist. Another foil sig, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Number 13. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for Knights. Storm parallel checklist. Team high performance for the Warriors. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Knights parallel checklist. Master and Apprentice, Mitchell Moses for the Eels. Regan Campbell Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Heelan Lukey for the Cowboys. Josh Kerr, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. James Tamo, parallel for Tigers, Tamo. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Dylan Brown, parallel for Eels. High Performance, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Blake Laurie, parallel for Dragons. Master and Apprentice, Blake Taff, Master and Apprentice Black, Blake Taff for the Rabbitohs. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. Sorry, we're just tidying up a little bit. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. Have a Fido on there, will you? Yeah. Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. High Performance, Brendan Smith for Storm. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for the Tigers. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Dean Oremia for Storm. Jason Tormalolo, parallel for Cowboys. High Performance, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for the Knights. Season to Remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Cody Ramsey, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbitohs. Joseph Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. Season to Remember, Sam Williams for the Raiders. Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. And last but not least, for our packets out of the starter packs, we have a Master and Apprentice, Josh Papali for the Raiders. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. And that finishes us off smaller starter packs. I'll quickly tidy these up and I will grab the case. Dylan Cameron. Number 27 of 30. The late Taff for the Rabbitohs. We'll show the number up on there. Congratulations. Let's get these out of here. So we'll do our case. Then we'll do our priority boxes. And then random ones. Wall of boxes. Move it back a bit out of that way. No, all good. Just finishing one thing and starting the next. Box number 1 from the case. Here we go, here we go. Rising Stars, Will Penasini for the Eels. Adam Fanua Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Master and Apprentice, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Rocco Berry for the Warriors. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. High Performance, Payne Huss for the Broncos. Nick Kotrick, parallel for the Bulldogs. Tommy Talau, Power Heroes for Tigers. Jordan Rapana, parallel for Raiders. Jazz Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. Roosters, parallel checklist. Season to Remember, Matt Burton for the Panthers. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Talator Amone for the Dragons. Panthers, parallel checklist. Season to Remember, Wade Graham for the Sharks. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Balakiku Manu for the Bulldogs. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for Broncos. High performance, Will Hopawade for the Bulldogs. Jesse Ramian, parallel for Sharks. Alex Twal, parallel for Tigers. Team high performance for the Dragons. Reid Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Master and Apprentice Black, Bo Formore for the Titans. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Dane Laurie, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Ben Hunt, parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Hammerfido, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Dominic Young for the Knights. Knights parallel checklist. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Tukamea Simpkins for the Tigers. Ryan Totter, parallel for Panthers. Tohu Harris, Club Heroes for the Warriors. Thomas Flegler, parallel for Broncos. High performance, Jordan Rapana for the Raiders. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Master and Apprentice, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Harley Smith Shields, Rising Stars for Raiders. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Sione Katoa, parallel for Sharks. Season to remember, Adam Dewey for Tigers. Luciano Leilua, parallel for Tigers. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for Storm. Zach Lomax, parallel for Dragons. Season to remember, Albert Kelly for the Broncos. Joe Stimson, parallel for Bulldogs. High performance, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Cowboys parallel checklist. Power Heroes, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Franklin Pillay for the Sharks. Kenny Bromwich, parallel for Storm. 3 packets left for our first box. Hudson Young, parallel for Raiders. Foil signature for the Rabbitohs, Dylan Cameron, Alex Johnston, 172. Alex Johnston. Jason Saab, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Ewan Aiken for the Warriors. Kevin Proctor, parallel for the Titans. And that finishes off box number 1, guys. Rocco Berry, Rising Stars for the Warriors. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. High performance, Jake Turpin for the Broncos. Luke Thompson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Valentine Holmes, Power Heroes for the Cowboys. Josh Papali, parallel for the Raiders. Warriors parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Talator Amon for the Dragons. Isaiah Yo, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Brian Tyler, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Falakiku Manu for the Bulldogs. Thomas Flegler, parallel for the Broncos. Season to remember, Ruben Garrick for Manly. Herbie Farmworth, parallel for Broncos. High performance, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Sione Katoa, parallel for Sharks. Luciano Oleilua, parallel for Tigers. Team high performance for the Tigers. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Zach Lomax, parallel for the Dragons. Master and Apprentice Black, Tohu Harris for the Warriors. Jesse Ramian, parallel for Sharks. Alex Twile, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Cowboys parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Dominic Young for the Knights. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for the Knights. Master and Apprentice, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Roosters parallel checklist. Kenny Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. High performance, Josh Hodgson for the Raiders. Jason Saab, parallel for Manly. Master and Apprentice, Stefano Utakamanu for the Tigers. Kevin Proctor, parallel for Titans. Rising Stars, Chukwuemeka Simpkins for Tigers. Liam Martin, parallel for Panthers. Blake Taff, Club Heroes. Blake Taff, Club Heroes for the Rabbitohs. Tyson Gamble, parallel for the Broncos. Rising Stars, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. Toby Rudolph, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Harley Smith Shields for the Raiders. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Jaden Brayley for the Knights. Nick Kotrick, parallel for the Bulldogs. Jordan Rapana, parallel for Raiders. Season to remember, Blake Ferguson for the Eels. Stefano Utakamanu, parallel for Tigers. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for Storm. Dragons parallel checklist. High performance, Reese Robson for the Cowboys. Reese Robson parallel for the Cowboys. Reese Robson all round. Our heroes are Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Carlin Ponga parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Will Penasini for the Eels. Jazz Tavega, parallel for the Warriors. 3 packets left. Rising Stars, Franklin Pillay for the Sharks. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for Storm. Retirements, Benji Marshall for the Rabbitohs. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. Last but not least, for box number 2, season to remember, Corey Norman for the Dragons. Corey Thompson, parallel for Titans. Alright. Keeping going. Box number 3. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Joe Stimson, parallel for the Bulldogs. High performance, Anari Tuala for the Knights. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Ben Hunt, Power Heroes for the Dragons. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Master Apprentice, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Adam Fanua Blake, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for the Broncos. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Brett Morris for the Roosters. Panthers parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Davy Mole for the Rabbits. Nick Kotrick, parallel for Bulldogs. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Wade Graham, parallel for Sharks. Oh yeah, and every spot in the break gets an entry into the giveaway. Master and Apprentice, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Dane Laurie, parallel for Tigers. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, retirement for the Warriors. Jordan Rabiner, parallel for Raiders. Rising Stars, Heelan Lukey for the Cowboys. Clint Gufferson, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Adam Reynolds for the Rabbitohs. Cody Ramsey, parallel for the Dragons. Master and Apprentice Black, Cooper Johns for the Storm. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Jared Croker for the Raiders. Jace Tavega, parallel for Warriors. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for the Knights. High Performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Kevin Proctor, parallel for Titans. Halfway through box number 3. Remembering we started with the mini starter case. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Roosters parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Ryan Madison, parallel for the Eels. High Performance, Reece Welsh for the Warriors. Isaiah Yeo, parallel for Panthers. Luke Metcalf, Club Heroes for the Sharks. Zach Lomax, parallel for Dragons. Power Heroes, Tommy Talau for the Tigers. Herbie Farnworth, parallel for Broncos. Jesse Ramian, parallel for Sharks. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Cowboys parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. Alex Twal, parallel for the Tigers. I had a big laugh when I heard his teammates call him sexy, big sexy. Season to remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Mitchell Pearce, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Reed Marnie for the Eels. Reed Marnie parallel for the Eels. Kenny Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Dean Aremia for Storm. Ben Hunt, parallel for Dragons. High Performance, Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs. Hammer Fido, parallel for Cowboys. Knights parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Jason Saab, parallel for Manly. 3 packs left for our third box. Team High Performance for the Eels. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Alright, 4th box. High performance, Lachlan Croker for Manly. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Ooh, nice hit. Billy Griffiths for the Dragons. Jack Bird Black Authentic, number 13. Micah Sivo, parallel for the Eels. High performance, Blake Brayley for the Sharks. Andrew McCulloch, parallel for the Dragons. Power Heroes, header A. Luke Brooks, parallel for Tigers. William Kennedy, Master and Apprentice for the Sharks. Colin Hess, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Jacob Saifiti, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Christian Welsh, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Dejan Assi for the Cowboys. Eels, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Sifa Talakai, parallel for the Sharks. Tommy Turbo, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Jared Wallace, parallel for the Titans. Master and Apprentice, Emery Gula for the Raiders. Cody Walker, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Malami Avale for the Warriors. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbitohs. Corey Waddell, parallel for Bulldogs. Tarek Sims, parallel for Dragons. Jaden Ockenbaugh, season to remember for the Bulldogs. Emery Gula, parallel for Raiders. Master and Apprentice black Jake Arthur for the Eels. Tohu Harris, parallel for Warriors. Daniel Tupou, parallel for Roosters. Rising Stars, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Tigers parallel checklist. Season to remember, Thomas Burgess for the Rabbitohs. Tom Dearden, parallel for the Cowboys. Club Heroes, Harley Smith Shields for the Raiders. Ryan Sutton, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Matt Croker for the Knights. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for the Knights. High Performance, Mitch Rain for the Titans. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for the Broncos. Ewan Aiken, parallel for Warriors. Excuse me. Power Heroes, Josh Papali for the Raiders. Hamoli Olaka'atu, parallel for Manly. Alexander Brimson, parallel for the Titans. Season to remember, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Joseph Suwali, parallel for the Roosters. Matthew Tomoko, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Wiramu Grieg for the Eels. Chance Nico Klokstad, parallel for the Raiders. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. We've got 5 packets left for box number 4. High Performance, Reed Marnie for the Eels. Dylan Watine Zelezniak, parallel for the Warriors. Club where? Southport, yeah, I guess so. There's, yeah, there's Burger. So Tilly Tupanua, parallel for the Roosters. Team High Performance for the Sharks. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. Jake Turpin, parallel for Broncos. Yeah. Alright. Box number 5 out of the case. Once again, remembering that we did start with the mini starters case. Rising Stars, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. David Nofaluma, parallel for Tigers. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. High Performance, Ruben Garrick for Manly. CSC for Talakai, parallel for Sharks. High Performance, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. Master and Apprentice, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Valentine Holmes, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Daniel Saifiti, parallel for Knights. Power Heroes, Brian Totoff for Panthers. Tigers, parallel checklist. Season to remember, Jesse Bromwich for Storm. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Titans, parallel checklist. Master and Apprentice, Herbie Farmworth for the Broncos. David Totola, parallel for Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Dejan Ashe for the Cowboys. Marcus Sivo, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbitohs. Jack Hetherington, parallel for Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Valami Avile for the Warriors. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Season to remember, Sam Williams for the Raiders. Raiders parallel checklist. Master and Apprentice, Mitchell Pearce for the Knights. Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, William Kennedy for the Sharks. William Kennedy parallel for the Sharks. Andrew McCulloch parallel for the Dragons. Season to remember, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Cohen Hess parallel for the Cowboys. Club Heroes, Cohen Hess for the Cowboys. Charles Nico Clockstad parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Matt Croker for the Knights. Jacob Saifiti parallel for the Knights. High Performance, Maiki Fodawaika for the Titans. Christian Welsh parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for the Broncos. Dylan Watine Zalesniak parallel for the Warriors. Power Heroes, Header B. Tommy Turbo parallel for Manly. Retirements, Trent Merrin for the Dragons. Okay. There we go. Jared Wallace parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Matthew Tomoko for the Raiders. Cody Walker parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Saitili Tupanua parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for the Broncos. Corey Waddell, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Wiramu Grieg for the Eels. Henry Gula, parallel for the Raiders. Apasai Coruscant, parallel for Panthers. 5 packs left, guys. High Performance, Clint Gufferson for the Eels. Tohu Harris, parallel for Warriors. Daniel Tupu, parallel for Roosters. Team High Performance for the Broncos. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Jake Turpin, parallel for Broncos. Time to trade, Brian. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. Tony Staggs, parallel for Broncos. I mean, really, the club heroes aren't a bad hit, like you've already got a couple of them, but try to use them to trade to fill in the gaps. Box number 6. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. Master and Apprentice, Kevin Proctor for the Titans. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for Knights. Anyone watching need a Cohen Hess Club Hero. Brian McGovern already has 2 of them. Oh, well, there you go. High Performance, Brian To'o for Panthers. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. You can still trade one. If you're not on Facebook, which I'm pretty sure you are. If you're going to trade on Facebook, I recommend NRL Trading Card Post. I can't remember if that's how it is. It's similar to that. Get in there, post a photo of what you got, how much you want for it. You have to put a price on it, even if you're looking for trades. It's just the group rules. So put not for sale, trade only, and then what you're looking for. Junior Paulo, Power Heroes for the Eels. Blake Laurie, parallel for Dragons. Trying to think of the other name of the site. trade for the Dragon signature. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Luke Metcalf for the Sharks. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for the Storm. I'm trying to think, there's another site, a website, Ozcard. If you Google Ozcard Trader, that's another forum other than Facebook to trade and sell your cards on. Jermaine Hopgood, Rising Stars for Panthers. Bradman Best, parallel for Knights. I'm not sure how many people use Ozcard, but I know it does get used by enough people to make it worth it. Season to remember, Dave Fafita for the Titans. Felice Kafusi, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Kieran Foran, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Amoli Olako-Atu, parallel for Manly. High Performance, Daniel Tupu for the Roosters. Aaron Clark, parallel for Titans. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Team High Performance for the Titans. Josh Jackson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Master and Apprentice, Matt Dory, Master and Apprentice Black for the Bulldogs. Alexander Brimson, parallel for Titans. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, Blake Taft for the Rabbits. Ryan Sutton, parallel for the Raiders. Season to remember, Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs. Ewan Aiken, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for Tigers. Joseph Suwali, parallel for Roosters. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. High Performance, Justin Olam for Storm. Payne Haas, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Ajira Mamoisi for the Knights. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Club Heroes, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Jerome Hughes, Master and Apprentice for Storm. Blake Brayley, parallel for Sharks. Rising Stars, Greg Marshew for Titans. Luke Brooks, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Xavier Savage for the Raiders. Big Tino, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbits. Retirement, Blake Ferguson for the Eels. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. I am. I'm sweating like a pig. I reckon I'm sweating mostly because of the heat coming through that. Yeah. Luke Brooks, season to remember for the Tigers. Eels, parallel checklist. I kept having a nice breeze coming through every so often. I'll have that coffee if you still offer. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Joseph Tapine, parallel for Raiders. Now that I'm halfway through the break, I'm ready. High performance, Jack Bird for Dragons. Elijah Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Power Heroes, a Dry Arrow for the Rabbitohs. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Tarek Sims, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for the Storm. Tommy Duden, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. Got 2 more packets for box number 6. Tessie New, parallel for Broncos. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly, and Ronaldo Mulatalo parallel for the Sharks. Box number 7. High performance, Xavier Coates for the Broncos. Jack Hetherington, parallel for Bulldogs. Our Heroes, Nick Kotrick for Bulldogs. Raiders, parallel checklist. Chanel Harris Tavita, parallel for the Warriors. Rising Stars, Talator Amon for the Dragons. Brian Sotter, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Keenan Palacia for the Broncos. Angus Crichton, parallel for the Roosters. Thank you. Season to remember, Matt Burton for the Panthers. Liam Martin, parallel for the Panthers. Rising Stars, Falakiku Manu for the Bulldogs. Tyson Gamble, parallel for Broncos. High performance, Nick Meaney for the Bulldogs. Toby Rudolph, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Wade Graham for the Sharks. Ty Slegler, parallel for Broncos. Stefano Utikamanu, parallel for Tigers. Team high performance for the Roosters. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Dragons, parallel checklist. Master and Apprentice, Black, Matt Moylan for the Sharks. Sione Katoa, parallel for the Sharks. Luciano Leilua, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys, Reese Robson parallel for the Cowboys. Rising Stars, Dominic Young for the Knights, Kevin Ponga parallel for the Knights. Ryan Pappenhausen parallel for Storm. Master and Apprentice, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. High Performance, Jordan Rapana for the Raiders. Josh Schuster, parallel for Manly. Master and Apprentice, Josh Curran for the Warriors. Corey Thompson, parallel for Titans. Harley Smith Shields, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Cameron Murray, parallel for the Rabbits. Excuse me. Season to remember, Albert Kelly for the Broncos. Luke Thompson, parallel for Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Tukamea Simpkins for the Tigers. Jerome Luai, parallel for Panthers. Dane Laurie, Club Heroes for Tigers. Tony Staggs, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Jaden Campbell for the Titans. William Kennedy, parallel for the Sharks. Season to remember, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. David Nofaluma, parallel for the Tigers. Junior Paulo, parallel for the Eels. Josh Papali, parallel for Raiders. Rising Stars, Tyson Smoothie for Storm. Jack Bird, parallel for Dragons. High Performance, Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. Valentine Holmes, parallel for the Cowboys. Tony Staggs, Power Heroes for the Broncos. Daniel Saifidi, parallel for the Knights. Rising Stars, Franklin Pillay for the Sharks. Harry Grant, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Will Penasini for the Eels. Warriors, parallel checklist. Brett Morris, retirement for the Roosters. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. 2 packets left for box number 7. Season to remember, Ewan Aiken for the Warriors. Titans parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Rocco Berry for the Warriors. Tavita Totola, parallel for the Rabbits. Oh, isn't that many in there? Box number 8. What do we got? 7 boxes left, including this one. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for Dragons. What have we got? We've done 7 plus 2 basically for the mini starters. Trent LaRoe, Rising Stars for the Storm. Kyle Felt, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. James Tarmo, parallel for Tigers. High Performance, Matt Burton for Panthers. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Power Heroes, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Josh Kerr, parallel for the Dragons. Master Apprentice, Bo Formore for the Titans. Jaden Brayley, parallel for the Knights. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for Panthers. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, David Fafita for Titans. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. Luke Metcalf, Rising Stars for Sharks. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Manly parallel checklist. High performance, Daniel Tupu for the Roosters. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. Team high performance for Manly. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for Bulldogs. Season to remember, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Master Apprentice Black, Josh Papali for Raiders. Big Tino for the Titans. Jai Arrow, parallel for Rabbits. Season to remember, Jake Averillo for the Bulldogs. Josh Curran, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for the Tigers. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Predictor number 102 for Mr. Brian McGovern with the Cowboys. Congratulations, Brian. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. High performance, Josh Addo-Carr for the Storm. Jordan Ricky, parallel for Broncos. Master Apprentice, Cooper Johns for Storm. Sharks parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Jeremy Moisey for the Knights. Storm parallel checklist. Club Heroes, Josh Schuster for Manly. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Xavier Savage, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Milwaukee Fotowaka, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Daniel Saifiti for the Knights. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. Greg Marzu, Rising Stars for Titans. Adam Dewey, parallel for Tigers. If you're not sure what to do with the predictor, Brian, you can obviously trade for a predictor you'd prefer, but I suggest trying to get it into a predictor share with David Richley, and Jared Rees. Pardon? Oh, there you go. Mark Johnson is another one. Those three guys, they buy off us, good customers, good people. Jake Averillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Jack Whiten, parallel for Raiders. High Performance, Mikhail Ravalawa for the Dragons. Cody Nikarima, parallel for Warriors. We've got 6 packets left for box number 8. Don Martin Zalesniak for the Warriors. Jared Rivera Hargreaves, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Luke Brooks for the Tigers. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. Balami kick out, parallel for Panthers. Retirement, Curtis Sirinen for Manly. Broncos parallel checklist. Season to remember, Daly Cherry Evans for Manly. Matt Moylan, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Blake Taff for the Rabbitohs. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for Raiders. And that's another box done and dusted. Box number 9. Joseph Suwali, Rising Stars for the Roosters. Adali Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. High Performance, Alex Twal for the Tigers. Mawaki Fotoaika, parallel for the Titans. Ooh, Titans and Tigers together. High Performance, David Clemmer for the Knights. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for the Raiders. Master and Apprentice, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Josh Curran, parallel for Warriors. Martin Zelezniak, Power Heroes for Warriors. Damien Cook, parallel for Rabbits. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for the Broncos. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. Season to Remember, Brett Morris for the Roosters. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Jordan Ricky, parallel for Broncos. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for Bulldogs. Sharks parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Davey Mull for the Rabbits. Jake Avarillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. Master and Apprentice, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Rising Stars, Helam Lukey for the Cowboys. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Adam Reynolds for the Rabbitohs. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for Dragons. Excuse me. Jack Whiten, parallel for Raiders. Arsenal apprentice Black, Corey Oates for Broncos. Kyle Felt, parallel for Cowboys. Jaden Brayley, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Jared Croker for the Raiders. Cody Nikarima, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Clint Gufferson, parallel for Eels. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Jared Rara Hargreaves, parallel for the Roosters. High Performance, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for the Warriors. Valami Kickout, parallel for Panthers. Club Heroes, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Cody Ramsey, parallel for the Dragons. Our Heroes, James Tedesco for the Roosters. Broncos parallel checklist. Matt Moylan, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. James Tarmo, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Reed Marnie for the Eels. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Dean Aremia for the Storm. Josh Kerr, parallel for Dragons. High Performance, Thomas Burgess for the Rabbitohs. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. Ooh, nice. Billy Griffiths. White Authentic Jack Bird. Number 118. 118. Jake Clifford, parallel for the Knights. Storm parallel checklist. Team high performance for the Cowboys. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. 2 packets left for box number 9. Rising Stars, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Manly parallel checklist. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Oops. Box number 10. High performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Brian Kelly, parallel for Titans. Jake Averillo, parallel for the Bulldogs. High performance, Jaden Brayley for the Knights. Jack Whiten, parallel for Raiders. Master and Apprentice, Blake Taff for the Rabbitohs. Cody Nikorima, parallel for the Warriors. Power Heroes, Harry Grant for the Storm. Campbell Graham, parallel for the Rabbits. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for the Broncos. Gerard Rivera Hargraves, parallel for the Roosters. Season to remember, Brian To'o for Panthers. Valami Kickout, parallel for Panthers. Broncos parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Davy Mole for the Rabbits. Joe Stimson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Matt Moylan, parallel for the Sharks. Master and Apprentice, Jake Arthur for the Eels. James Tarmo, parallel for Tigers. Rising Stars, Helam Lukey for the Cowboys. Regan Campbell Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Season to remember, Murray Talagi for the Cowboys. Josh Kerr, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Jason Saab for Manly. Reed Marnie, parallel for the Eels. Well, predict the number 2 for Billy Griffiths with the Dragons, 185. Hudson Young, parallel for the Raiders. Master and Apprentice Black, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. Jake Clifford, parallel for Knights. Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Jack Hetherington for the Bulldogs. Aden Fanua-Blake, parallel for the Warriors. Hayes Dunster, Club Heroes for the Eels. Ben Hunt, parallel for Dragons. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for Tigers. Joey Manu, parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Hammer Fido, parallel for Cowboys. High Performance, Wade Egan for the Warriors. Panthers parallel checklist. Power Heroes, Alexander Brimson for the Titans. Patrick Carrigan, parallel for Broncos. Season to remember, Jaden Campbell for Titans. Knights parallel checklist. Sorry guys. Wade Graham, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Toby Sexton for the Titans. Dane Laurie, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. Clinton Gufferson, parallel for Eels. Jerome Hughes, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Dean Aremia for the Storm. Cody Ramsey for Dragons. High Performance, Damien Cook for the Rabbitohs. Jason Taumalolo, parallel for Cowboys. Tyson Frizzell, parallel for Knights. Team High Performance for the Rabbitohs. Storm parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Joseph Suwali for the Roosters. Brad Parker, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Daly Cherry Evans, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Josh Curran for the Warriors. Mawaki Fodawaika, parallel for Titans. Alright. Let's get these put away. We're up to box number 11. Really starting to get through them. Rising Stars, Ben Trbojevic for Manly. Luke Brooks, parallel for Tigers. Eels parallel checklist. High Performance for the Sharks. Tarek Sims, parallel for Dragons. Power Hero is Jai Arrow for the Rabbits. Tommy Talau, parallel for Tigers. Master Apprentice, Matt Dory for the Bulldogs. Tommy Dearden, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Isaac Tago for Panthers. Mitchell Barnett, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Jesse Bromwich for Storm. Nelson Asafa Solomona, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Dejan Ashe for the Cowboys. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Amoli Olaka-Atu, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Egan Butcher for the Roosters. Alexander Brimson, parallel for Titans. Master Apprentice, Corey Oates for Broncos. Keon Kolomatangi, parallel for Rabbitohs. Rising Stars, Lachlan Elias for the Rabbits. Bulldogs parallel checklist. Blake Laurie, parallel for Dragons. Season to remember, Hammer Fido for the Cowboys. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Season to remember, Sam Williams for the Raiders. Charles Nicole Clockstad, parallel for the Raiders. Master and Apprentice, Hamoli Olaka'atu. Master and Apprentice Black for Manly. Dallin Martin is a Lozniak, parallel for Warriors. Saitili Tupanua, parallel for the Roosters. High Performance, Tommy Turbo for Manly. Ronaldo Mortalo, parallel for Sharks. Rising Stars, Valami Avile for the Warriors. Corey Allen, parallel for Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Matt Croker for the Knights. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Brody Jones, Club Heroes for the Knights. Joseph Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. High Performance, David Fafita for the Titans. Felice Kafusi, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Kobe Hetherington for the Broncos. Elijah Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. Junior Paulo, Power Heroes for the Eels. Kieran Foran, parallel for Manly. Aaron Clark, parallel for Titans. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for Storm. Season to remember, Nathan Cleary for Panthers. Sam Walker, parallel for Roosters. Matthew Tomoko, Rising Stars for the Raiders. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Season to remember, Xavier Coates for the Broncos. For Josh Jackson, parallel for Bulldogs. Miriam McGrigg, Rising Stars for the Eels. Ryan Sutton, parallel for Raiders. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. High Performance, Micah Sivo for the Eels. Ewan Aiken, parallel for Warriors. Oh, William Goodger. Warriors creator number 68. Cody Nicarima. Joseph Sawali for the Roosters. 4 packets left. Rising Stars, Bailey Biondi Otto for the Bulldogs. Tessie New parallel for Broncos. Excuse me. Team High Performance for the Raiders. Nathan Cleary, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Tyrell Sloan for the Dragons. Payne Huss, parallel for Broncos. And last but not least, packet for box 11. Season to remember, William Kennedy for the Sharks. Blake Brayley, parallel for the Sharks. Alright. Oops, we need some more in there. Some more over there. And that should be close. Close enough. They should. Our last box of the case. Obviously, we still have our 2 priority boxes to open. And a 21 Traders hobby box to randomise between everyone. So you get to do this at home yourself. Rising Stars, Jaden Sullivan for the Dragons. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. And Jordan Ricky, parallel for Broncos. Season to remember, Chad Townsend for the Sharks. Sharks parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Josh Schuster for Manly. Adam Dewey, parallel for Tigers. High Performance, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Luke Metcalf for the Sharks. Felice Kafusi, parallel for the Storm. Our Heroes, Toby Rudolph for the Sharks. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Foil Sig, Adam Dewey for the Tigers. Renee McKenzie. Number 157. Kyle Felt, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Jermaine Hopgood for the Panthers. Jaden Brayley, parallel for the Knights. Season to remember, Josh Adokar for the Storm. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for the Storm. Season to remember, Matt Duffy for the Dragons. Kieran Foran, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. High Performance, Isaac Liu for the Roosters. Big Tino for the Titans, parallel. Jai Arrow, parallel for the Rabbitohs. Master Apprentice Black, Daniel Tupu for the Roosters. Aaron Clark, parallel for Titans. Just about halfway on box number 12 out of the case. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. That's the last box of the case. Team High Performance for the Knights. Corey Allen, parallel for the Bulldogs. Rising Stars, Blake Tash for the Rabbitohs. Joseph Tapine, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Zach Sini for the Tigers. Sam Walker, parallel for the Roosters. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. Brendan Smith, High Performance for Storm. Tessie New, parallel for Broncos. Don't forget, guys, I will be taking photos of all the cards. We'll put them in the comments for the break post. Master Apprentice, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Renato Mulatalo, parallel for the Sharks. Rising Stars, Jira Mamoisi for the Knights. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm. Club Heroes, Sam Walker for the Roosters. Manly parallel checklist. Greg Marzhew, Rising Stars for the Titans. Tommy Talau, parallel for Tigers. Season to remember, Isaiah Papali'i for the Eels. Dylan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. Xavier Savage, Rising Stars for the Raiders. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Season to remember, Alex Glenn for the Broncos. Thomas Burgess, parallel for the Rabbits. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for Bulldogs. 6 packets left. Rising Stars, Trent LaRoe for the Storm. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Hayes Dunster for the Eels. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for Raiders. High Performance, Andrew McCulloch for Dragons. Josh Curran, parallel for Warriors. Kieran Foran, Power Hero for Manly. Victor Bradley, parallel for Roosters. Master and Apprentice, Amoli Olaka'atu for Manly. Bradman Best, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Jordan Rapana for the Raiders and Eliza Katoa, parallel for the Warriors. So that finishes the case off. We will grab the 22 Traders Priority. Alright. So congratulations to everyone that's managed to pick up some decent hits so far. But if not, there is still a chance, guys. It is not over. So 22 Traders Priority. Alright. Probably need that. Not in a hurry, but we'll do it now. Alright, let's go. Final 22 Traders box of the break, and just so happens to be Priority. Tessie New, parallel for Broncos. High Performance, Reese Walsh for the Warriors. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Toby Rudolph, Power Heroes for the Sharks. Jordan Ricky, parallel for Broncos. Sharks parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Aaron Shoup for the Bulldogs. Renato Molitalo, parallel for the Sharks. Master and Apprentice, Valentine Holmes for the Cowboys. Tommy Talau, parallel for the Tigers. Toby Sexton, Rising Stars for the Titans. Adam Dewey, parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Reid Marnie for the Eels. Nathan Brown, parallel for the Eels. Rising Stars, Dean Iremia for Storm. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for Dragons. Yeah, right. Yeah. High performance, Alex Johnston for the Rabbits. Kyle Felt, parallel for Cowboys. Rising Stars, Helam Lukey for the Cowboys. Dylan Brown, parallel for Eels. Jaden Brayley, parallel for Knights. Ooh. Where are we? Number 28 out of 45. Our team high performance for Priority Box is our Rabbitohs. Mr. Dylan Cameron. Nice work. Jesse Bromwich, parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Teague Wilton for the Sharks. Lachlan Croker, parallel for Manly. Season to remember, Zach Lomax for the Dragons. Big Tino for the Titans. Season to remember, Adam Reynolds for the Rabbitohs. Blake Laurie, parallel for the Dragons. James Tamo, Master and Apprentice Black, number 3. There we go, nice low one. Number 3 for the Tigers. Scott Drinkwater, parallel for the Cowboys. Bradman Best, parallel for the Knights. Corey Allen, parallel for Bulldogs. High Performance, Anari Tuala for the Knights. Joseph Tapine, parallel for Raiders. Jason Saab, Rising Stars for Manly. Regan Campbell-Gillard, parallel for the Eels. Club Hero, Ben Hunt for the Dragons. Josh Kerr, parallel for the Dragons. Rising Stars, Taylor May for Panthers. Jake Granville, parallel for Cowboys. Season to Remember, Ryan Pappenhausen for the Storm. Jake Clifford, parallel for the Knights. Justin Olam, parallel for Storm.
Warriors, Raiders, going to Golden Point break time.
There you go.
20 all.
Had a few Golden Point extra times lately. Master Apprentice, Isaiah Yeo for Panthers. Elias Katoa, parallel for Warriors. Pretty sure I stayed with Warriors at home. Joseph Suwali, Rising Stars for Roosters. Oh well, that's it. Manly parallel checklist. High Performance, David Nofaluma for the Tigers. David Fafita, parallel for Titans. Kieran Foran, Power Heroes for Manly. Thomas Burgess, parallel for Rabbits. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 7 packs left for 22 traders in break 159. And we still have our 21 traders priority box. Rising Stars, TC Rabuddy for Broncos. Sam Walker, parallel for Roosters. Just over 1 box remaining in the break, and we'll finish off with the randomizers. Rising Stars, Davey Mole for the Rabbits. Jeremy Marshall King, parallel for the Bulldogs. Isaac Luke, retirement for the Broncos. Elliot Whitehead, parallel for Raiders. Season to Remember, Jared Croker for the Raiders. Josh Curran, parallel for Warriors. Rising Stars, Jake Simpkin for the Tigers. Victor Radley, parallel for the Roosters. 2 packets left out of the 22 traders priority. Season to Remember, Brett Morris for the Roosters. Stephen Crichton, parallel for Panthers. And last but not least, Rising Stars, Edward Cossey for the Warriors. And Dry Arrow parallel for the Rabbits. That's our hobby box. Here I am getting this right name. So 21 Traders Priority. Here we go. Season to remember, Josh Papali for the Raiders. Wade Graham parallel for the Sharks. Luke Brooks parallel for the Tigers. Season to remember, Josh Morris for the Roosters. David Nofaluma parallel for Tigers. White Streeter, Josh Mansell for the Panthers. Kenneth Bromwich parallel for Storm. Rising Stars, Cooper Johns for the Storm. Bert Morris parallel for the Roosters. Rising Stars, Phoenix Crossland for the Knights. Tanila Paseka parallel for Manly. Team Wildcard, Mr. Robert Kelly, number 8 for the Titans. Luke Thompson, parallel for the Bulldogs. Retirement, Joel Thompson for Manly. Panthers parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Cade Ellis for the Dragons. Josh Jackson, parallel for Bulldogs. James Tedesco, parallel for the Roosters. Tommy Talau, Rising Stars for Tigers. Herbie Farnworth, parallel for Broncos. Wildcard, Apsai Coruscant for Panthers. Jake Trbojevic, parallel for Manly. Rising Stars, Freddie Lussick for the Roosters. Clint Gutherson, parallel for the Eels. Priority Club Hero Jason Tormalolo for the Cowboys, number 16. There you go, Brian. Cowboys paying off again, mate. Tony Staggs, parallel for Broncos. Zach Lomax, parallel for Dragons. White Street Art, Josh Jackson for the Bulldogs. Chance Nico Klokstad, parallel for Raiders. Star Tunes, Angus Crichton for the Roosters. Sharks parallel checklist. Going fingers crossed, Laurie Day, legend sick to finish us off. Wild card, Felice Kafusi for the Storm. Ryan Pappenhausen, parallel for the Storm. Can we be that lucky, guys? Can we be? Charlie Staines, Rising Stars for the Panthers. Dunamis Oluai, parallel for the Raiders. Rising Stars, Brendan Wakeham for the Bulldogs. Philip Sammy, parallel for the Titans. Rising Stars, Cade Cust for Manly. Kurt Mann, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Billy Walters for Tigers. David Pusatua, parallel for Warriors. Michael Morgan, parallel for Cowboys. Kalen Ponga, parallel for Knights. Season to remember, Cameron McInnes for the Dragons. Peter Hiku, parallel for the Warriors. Season to remember, Tavita Pangai Jr. for Broncos. Mitchell Moses, parallel for the Eels. Star Tunes, a Group B. Josh Morris, parallel for the Roosters. Excuse me. Latrell Mitchell, parallel for the Rabbits. Season to remember, Peter Hiku for the Warriors. Valentine Holmes, parallel for Cowboys. Getting towards the end, 2, 4, 6, 7 packets to finish us off. Rising Stars, Semi Avalemi for the Raiders. Rabbitohs parallel checklist. Rising Stars, Connor Tracy for the Sharks. James Fisher-Harris, parallel for Panthers. Rising Stars, Herbie Farnworth for the Broncos. Damien Cook, parallel for the Rabbitohs. 4 packets left. Wildcard, Wade Graham for the Sharks. Adam Clune, parallel for the Dragons. Black Streeter, Jake Trbojevic for Manly. Anthony Don, parallel for Titans. 2 packets left. Wildcard, Cody Walker for the Rabbits. Mikhail Ravalawa, parallel for the Dragons. Fingers crossed, last but not least, what can we find? Rising Stars, Hayes Perham for the Warriors. And Chad Townsend, parallel for the Sharks. Alright guys, so to finish this off, yeah, let me just chuck these away. There we go. Alright, finish this off in order. We have Power Heroes header A, pink, number 88. So that will be first. Followed by Power Heroes header B, header A, header B, and a Star Tunes a Group B. And then to finish off the randomizers, we will do the hobby box between everyone. Alright, so let's get set up for them. Waiting. What did I say? Header A. There we go, it's switched over. So header A, pink, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Luke Hodder. Header A, pink, with number 88. Alright, so next up we have B. Alright, so once again, 1, 2, and number 3. Renee McKenzie with the Roosters. Alright, so now we have a header A. Alright, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Renee McKenzie with Manly. So we got 2 B's, 1 Power Hero, and 1 Star Toon. Alright, so number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3, Renee McKenzie with Panthers. Alright, last card to be randomized, number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the Star Toon Group B, Renee McKenzie with the Roosters. Renee McKenzie on fire. Alright, so as I said, last but not least, we have our 21 Traders hobby box, which is randomized between everyone. So all 16. And we go number 1, number 2, and lucky last, number 3. Robert Kelly with the Knights. Congratulations, mate. Well, that finishes us off, guys. Don't forget to check out Break 160. It's listed in the Facebook group and on the website. Last I checked, which was before lunch, we had 8 spots left. Jump in amongst it, guys, and we'll see you again soon.